Welcome to the I Hate Critics Movie Review Podcast. I'm professional film critic Sean Patrick. Hi, Jeff.
Who, me?
Yes, you.
Oh, hi.
Tell people where they can get your art.
JeffLassiter.com is my website. All my links are there. And if you are in the Quad Cities area, Iowa, Illinois, this weekend I will be at the Eclectic Market at the Great River Brewery. And May 2nd, the return of the Quad City Toy Show. I think I'm going to do that one. That is at the Rock Island County Fairgrounds on May 2nd. And you can bring me a birthday present because it'll be right after my birthday. So thanks.
Also, your last name is spelled just like the Tom Selleck movie from 1984.
Correct. And if you're listening to a movie podcast, you should know that.
Exactly. Everybody remembers that movie. What are you talking about?
It's in the show notes too. So just click the link.
Let's see. I Hate Critics and all the social media stuff. Occasionally we do update that stuff when one of us thinks of it. I'm getting as bad as Amy about that.
Uh-oh. That's bad.
That's pretty bad. Let's see. What's going on? I saw the Devil Wears Prada trailer again, which is coming soon. The movie's going to be out next week or the week after that. It's very soon, right around the corner. Mm-hmm. I don't get the trailer, Jeff. I'm just baffled by it. Have you seen it?
I saw the first teaser, but I have not watched the other trailers. I watched The Mandalorian and Grogu 3 times trying to get really excited for it.
Still not getting excited?
Not really. We'll talk about that after you talk about this trailer.
So this trailer, this trailer for The Devil Wears Prada 2, it's the first full-length trailer, and it's been the only really one since the teaser. And the story is that they've hired Anne Hathaway back now as the editor of the magazine that Meryl Streep runs, and she returns and she enters the office, and Meryl Streep goes, "Who's this?" And you just hired her to be your editor. You don't know who she is? I mean, I understand the bit is that she's a bitch, but at a certain point, isn't it just irresponsible to be I don't know who my employees are? It's just, I don't understand. The joke has played out. It played out in the first movie when she just called everyone Emily. And that was funny. But now we're in a much more serious situation where she's given this woman the highest job the highest position at this job under her, essentially, and Stanley Tucci, I assume. And she's still playing this thing where she doesn't know who anyone is. And that joke repeats a couple of times during the movie where she's like, "Do I know this person?" And it's is it a joke or are you getting dementia? Is the character developing dementia and that's the story of the movie? Because otherwise this joke just does not work to me. Yeah. I think that's just it's drawn out too far now, because it would seem just genuinely irresponsible if she didn't know who she hired as the editor of a magazine. And I know I'm nitpicking here, but it's a really dumb thing to put in a film trailer for a sequel that people are pretty well familiar with.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So yeah, that's been on my mind that's been on my mind a little bit, just because I don't understand the choice. It's a weird choice.
Well, this is a movie that did not need a sequel.
Yeah, there's that.
The original was great. It was, it was very satisfying. It was cool. Why do we need to do this? And it looks like we have to do it because they can't get work. I mean, what?
Well, you were just telling me that, Anne Hathaway's other new movie, Mother Mary's coming out, and has apparently been tied up on a shelf for a couple of years. So maybe she just desperately needed the work.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I feel like they're going to ruin the legacy of the original with this one. Just a feeling that I have. So,
I mean, if the trailer is any indication, they've not put any new thought or any new innovation into it, because she's still doing the same gag.
Yeah.
To now a character who is the single most important person in her magazine. in an era where magazines aren't big anymore. Like maybe
Yeah,
that, I don't know, maybe that should be your story. The fact that magazines
agreed.
are almost irrelevant. I don't know. Just a thought. Mandalorian and Grogu, I'm not taken with that trailer at all. I think Baby Yoda is cute, but I find that Pedro Pascal is so passive in that character. I've not seen the TV show, so I don't know if that's the case with the show, but in the trailer he just seems so like I know it's a slow burn and maybe he's playing for intensity, but I don't see anything. I don't see any energy, and I certainly don't hear any energy in his voice. I mean, he even does a like they even do a little cute little joke in the trailer where he like takes cookies away from Baby Yoda and tells him no more till after lunch, and like it's supposed to be cute, but he's so flat in the line reading that it's like okay, didn't really kind of land the way I would think that was intended.
Well, that is the character. The character is he has a very flat affect. Um, he's a mercenary bounty hunter, and um, that is his affect throughout the series. And I mean, that's fine. My problem is that as the series has gone on, did you watch the Clone Wars?
No.
Well, Dave Filoni created the Clone Wars in association with George Lucas, and it takes place between episode 2 and 3. Um, and he created a lot of characters for it. And then the show Rebels, which takes place after Return of the Jedi or before Return, I think it's before A New Hope, even. And he is so in love with his own characters from these shows that he has used the Mandalorian, which should have been a really cool kind of new character, one-off character. He has used that show to shoehorn in my opinion, a lot of his Clone Wars and Rebels characters. In this new movie, um, the character Zeb from Rebels, who looks he's in the blue flight suit, and it's actually the original design for Chewbacca that Ralph McQuarrie came up with. Um, and they used that design in Rebels to make this character Zeb, and now Zeb is in this movie. He was in an episode of, I think it was the Book of Boba Fett, but it could be the Mandalorian. I don't remember. Because they all meld together at this point because he uses the same characters um, from every show, and I get that he's in love with these characters. Like Ahsoka is a good character from the Clone Wars that has made her way into live action now, starring Rosario Dawson. Um, she was in The Mandalorian, and then she was in the Book of Boba Fett. Now she has her own series, Ahsoka, and it's a good character. But it's like in that in the Rebels TV show, she was a character in that, so that means that everybody from Rebels, there's a cliffhanger that kind of left off because so he could make a sequel series. Well, now that cliffhanger is the impetus for this Ahsoka TV show, and it's like there's nothing completely original anymore. It's all like makes the universe smaller. And I one thing I liked about the old canon that Disney shuffled away was the fact that there were other stories that didn't necessarily involve the Skywalker saga.
Mhm.
Now they tried to do that for the most part with the Acolyte, and people hated that. Well, a vocal minority hated that. It was actually, I thought, a really good show, and it had some interesting themes going through it. But lesbian space witches are a bridge too far for some of these chuds that just don't like women. Um, so I feel like that was one of the that's one of the things that's keeping me from getting excited about this because there is a character in this movie. There's a couple of characters in this movie. Zeb, who I've already talked about, who's one of the rebel pilots. There's Embo, who was a bounty hunter that's in this trailer. And then there's Rhoda the Hutt, aka Stinky, from the Clone Wars movie, which
Hmm.
was actually just 3 episodes strung together and released in theaters. Um, Stinky, Jabba the Hutt's son, is a muscle bound Hutt gladiator in this one, and I don't quite know how to feel. Oh, and he's voiced by guess who? Jeremy Allen White.
Hmm.
I don't know
Okay.
how to get excited about this because it's just Dave Filoni shoehorning in all these characters so that we're, he's it's I don't I don't dislike nostalgia. I don't dislike fan service, but this is just nostalgia for something that's not even 20 years old yet, and he can't let any of his characters go, and that really bothers me, and that's why I'm not super excited. I haven't even bought my tickets yet.
Hmm.
And normally, if it's a Star Wars thing that's coming to theaters, even the Clone Wars movie, which, like I said, even that I was like, first showing, I don't want to be spoiled by anything. This is like you can't really spoil it because what it's kind of laid out in the trailer, and you see the characters that you've seen in all these other shows. So what's to spoil, right?
Hmm. I am.
So
I'm. I'm probably not going to do well with this one because I don't know anything. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. Maybe I won't be as annoyed because I don't know these characters unless
I'm
it
sure
treats it
there
like
will.
I'm supposed to know who they are.
I'm sure there will be a YouTube video showing you the highlights of the series so that you know who to like look for. Hopefully one that's not, oh my god, there's a woman in Star Wars and my penis fell off. Um, so
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what is the Grogu thing? What is the thing with Grogu?
so
What is so
Grogu
special about Grogu?
Grogu is the name of Baby Yoda.
Right.
So he is force sensitive. He was at the Jedi Temple when Order 66 happened, and a Jedi spirited him away because he's, maybe a chosen one or whatever. And the Jedi who spirited him away was played by Ahmed Best. So it's like I don't remember his name exactly, but he had a redemption arc with this character from being Jar Jar. Now he's a Jedi. Ahmed Beck, I think is his name. Um, and so the first episode is trying to get this asset, and dead or alive, they basically it's I think what it is, if I remember correctly, they're trying to get force sensitive people so they can get the blood and see if they can isolate the force sensitivity midi chlorians or whatever in order to use that as the impetus to resurrect the emperor with force sensitivity. So it's all
Every time
connected.
midichlorians is like the other than some of the things that J.J. Abrams did is probably the worst thing that Star Wars ever did was
Mhm.
midichlorians.
Yeah, yeah. I I
It's genetic
enjoy.
superiority, guys. It's not that you're just you developed skills or anything.
Yeah.
Not something anybody can do. You have to be born with it.
Well, and that's the
Oh,
thing is
fuck
people are
off.
born force sensitive, but there was no. It was just it was just a mystery of why, and that's why everybody loved it. And then George Lucas came in, not J.J. Abrams or Ryan Johnson, by the way. George Lucas came in and said, "Oh, it's these cells, these things that live in your cells. Oh, cool. Um, yeah, all right. Well, that's not cool." So I don't know. It's not that I don't like. I
I
don't.
like. I mean, I my whole thing about the Force early on was I thought it was kind of a like something you could aspire to. Like you see
Yeah.
Luke like learning how to use. Granted, he had I guess Force sensitivity, although they never said that in the original. But I thought it was something you could like learn. Like if you dedicated yourself, if you trained, if you prayed, and you followed the rules, you could learn the Force, and
Hmm.
that is cool. That's something that anyone could aspire to do, which kind of opens it up to being, you know. exciting and opens up all possibilities. But now it's genetic, and it's just it's two lines of families who rule the universe. And it's like, go fuck yourself.
Hmm.
I'm fucking royalists. I don't fucking need that
I
shit.
just, I really, I was, I, one of the reasons that I love The Last Jedi so much, and even Bob said this, that's his favorite of the sequels, is that it expanded it a little bit. So you don't have to be a Skywalker or a Palpatine to have the Force. You can be some little poor little kid, although I'm sure J.J. Abrams would have turned around and made that kid a Skywalker somehow, or a Palpatine, or he even tried to make a
Room
Calrissian.
boy.
Yeah, yeah. He couldn't just be Broom Boy. And, of course,
Yeah.
Rey couldn't have just been nobody who had the Force. She had to be a descendant of Palpatine. It's just like, I get it. I get why J.J. Abrams, he does not like to take any chances whatsoever in any of his movies. None of them. Like, not a single movie does he want to take a chance with. And that goes for Star Trek as well. That goes for Super 8. It's all, he wants to be Steven Spielberg. He is not Steven Spielberg. And end of rant, because it's just making me mad.
Amen to that.
So yeah, I'm not super like stoked to see the Mandalorian and Grogu. I don't even know if I'll
I
go
think
opening night.
yeah, just thinking about the way, that it's going to continue down that path and continue to make it about genetics, it feels like it gets gross to me. It's really gross
And
to me that.
yeah. And one thing about this, and I was talking to somebody at one of my jobs today who is a big Star Wars fan. She doesn't have her tickets yet. She's not super excited about this movie. Um, and I said, I think it might be because of the toys. I have always, I mean, everybody that like knows me knows I have a huge Star Wars collection. It's one of the things Josh and I bonded over, and I they've come out with like two figures, three figures from this upcoming movie that are all remnants. So they're like the Imperial remnants. So they're all the same um, designs, just slightly tweaked and a little dirty. And they want $20 per figure, and that's just the 3 3/4 inch figure. Then all the characters that you want are in other scales, and they made a new scale for this one. And it's like, I'm not buying another scale. Every time they try to do this new scale, it's like it fails. I'm not going to do it. Do the legacy one. I'm not excited about it. I can't afford, quite frankly, to keep collecting the way they want us to. And, like for the sequel trilogy, we only got like 5 figures in the super articulated one total.
Hmm.
So it's like they don't give a shit. Why should I?
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm just a little pissy because I'm not excited. Like, I want to be excited, but I'm not. I'm more excited about the Ryan Gosling one that's coming next year
Hmm.
with him and Mia Goth.
I'm excited about
So,
anything Ryan Gosling wants to do after Project Hail Mary. So.
yep. Keep the man in space, for God's sake.
Let's see here. So let's just jump into some movies here. I'll get my two out of the way, and then we can get to the movies that we both saw. So I saw Lorne, the new documentary about Lorne Michaels from director Morgan Neville, who most recently did Moon Age Daydream, the David Bowie documentary, which was really great. And here he's dealing with a guy in Michaels who is very private, doesn't like to talk, and doesn't really like to tell people about himself. And ultimately, what he comes down to is that he says he doesn't know himself, so he can't really tell anybody anything about himself, which is interesting. But I think the main thing you take away from this, or at least I took away from this, is that he is he's great at trusting people. He's great at trusting his talent. He's great at trusting that something is funny, even if he doesn't find it funny. He is a guy who adapts very, very well. You get to see inside that the writers' meetings and the meetings with the hosts, and those are really interesting. And you might assume that he's, from his reputation, that he's this dark lord who rules over everyone, and certainly everybody wants his attention and approval. But realistically, he's listening, and he kind of has an instinct for what he thinks will work, and he just trusts the people he sees doing the best possible work. The people who seem the most engaged in what they're doing are the people he's going to support and put on the show. And I found that to be the main insight because he doesn't have much personal insight himself. There isn't much to Lorne Michaels beyond Saturday Night Live. He does have a family that he won't talk about, which is fine. Don't He doesn't have to. Nobody's going to make him talk about it. That's fine.
Mhm.
We do get to meet the people who he is truly close to. We get to talk to Paul Simon, and Paul Simon says some really interesting things about their friendship and the time that they've spent together. And really, that stuff is really fascinating. And I think this is overall a really good documentary in without ever having to answer the question of who Lorne Michaels really is, even though that's kind of what the pitch was.
Yeah, I did not get to see this. He's always been kind of a cipher that, you hear anecdotes about from people who have either been on the show or didn't make it on the show. Um, Mark Maron did a pretty in-depth interview with him about not getting on the show
Mhm.
several years ago, and that was, he never really, I don't think, got a straight answer out of him why he didn't make it on the show, and I think that's just Lorne Michaels. He makes his gut decisions, and they're usually right. I would say that if he's in charge of picking the hosts, I don't think his instincts are always correct, but his not ready for primetime players, I think he's spot on. Um, he barely fires anybody, and I think that's because he does pick for the long term. So,
Yeah, he doesn't enjoy the idea of firing people, and you even hear a little bit about that, where he doesn't he just simply doesn't want to do it. He doesn't like confrontation, uh, and there's a bit of a again, I don't want to diagnose anybody, but there's a kind of a neurodivergence to him as well that seems like
mhm,
maybe that plays a role in how he
uh-huh.
deals with people and keeps to himself and doesn't let on what he's thinking very often. People seem to really, really want to make him laugh, but more and more, he doesn't really find any. He doesn't. It's not that he doesn't find anything funny, but that he understands that the humor that's coming forth from this young group of people in front of him is maybe not something he's going to be able to relate to. So he's got to figure out how committed they are to what they're doing, and if they seem confident in it, he's going to go with that and trust it and let them, do something with it. And if the audience is reacting to it, that's what he's going to go with. And that's really just a smart way for anybody his age to deal with this type of show that has to remain relevant.
Mhm. And I think that,
Yeah.
the 5 years that he was not running the show, everybody said, "Oh, it wasn't the same." I don't think it was bad, honestly. I think it was a lot different,
Mm.
and it didn't quite have the cachet that he brought to it. So, yeah, I I don't I'm not a big enough fan of Saturday Night Live, I guess. I was for a little while, but, then Andy Warhol had the famous line when he was on Saturday Night Live. He did some little video shorts, and he said, "Oh, I never watched the show." He goes, "I mean, it's Saturday night. If you're not out doing something, then what's the point?" Not that I ever go out on a Saturday night because I usually work early on Sundays, but, it's very telling that it's that was kind of the joke for a while, and only certain people got to, appreciate it. Um, but yeah, I never, like, loved it. I loved some of the sketches, and I would say probably late high school, early college, a lot of us would get together and watch it because that's just we were drinking in our rooms and whatever, but yeah, it was never something that, like, made me like, I saw Saturday Night for, um, or Live from New York, the one we watched last year. I watched that for the show, but it wasn't it was something I probably would have watched eventually, but, it wasn't like this is kinda like this was gonna be my last choice if I could only see 1 or 2 movies this week. So,
Yeah.
but I'm glad you enjoyed it and glad you enjoyed him.
The other new movie this weekend was one that didn't do very well and really didn't get a lot of attention. They really botched the release of this because I guess that's just what they do. Um, Magnolia Pictures releasing Normal, starring Bob Odenkirk and directed by Ben Wheatley. Ben Wheatley is one of my enemies. He's been my enemy since he released Rebecca, which is the worst remake in history. Um, but he's working with a guy I love in Bob Odenkirk and Derek Kolstad, of course, one of the guys behind John Wick and Nobody. So there's some good and some bad here. The good is that Bob Odenkirk is really good. He plays a sheriff who is a interim sheriff in this small town called Normal, Minnesota. That has a deep secret. The town is completely tied to the Yakuza. The Yakuza has moved into this town and has stored their many, many riches in the bank there, and it's led to a huge fortune for the city that is shared amongst the leaders of the city. And anybody who speaks about it tends to end up dead, which was the story of the previous sheriff. They specifically sought to hire Bob Odenkirk's character because he's a guy who really he kind of demonstrates that he doesn't give a shit. he, he's not really interested in doing much. He's only here for a few months, and he just wants to get through it and move on to his next temporary sheriff gig. And so finally, obviously, he's going to get drawn into it. The way he gets drawn into it is through a botched bank robbery attempt by these two, very, very kind people who are just desperate in a desperate situation and don't know they're robbing a bank that was owned by the Yakuza. And that provides a couple of very interesting complications and characters who might be villains, but they're not. They're just desperate people in a really fucked up situation. The violence is good. The shooting is good. There's a really wonderful Henry Winkler gag that is shocking and surprising, and I did like. But it is very much in the vein of Nobody. It doesn't feel like they've varied much. I think Bob would have been better off probably doing something slightly different than another, just I'm the most badass guy in the world kind of thing. He might have benefited from, just maybe do a comedy or something, because this feels like another Nobody movie, which I like both of the Nobody movies, but this isn't the same character or the same universe, so it's not the same.
Yeah, it was just glancing at it, it was giving me Nobody vibes. Um, and this was a week from hell as far as working two jobs and getting a bunch of other stuff done, so I did not get to it. But that I almost was able to see it the other night after work, and I was like, I'm really tired. I know if I go, I'm going to fall asleep in the middle of it, and I didn't want to do that. But um, yeah, it was giving me Nobody vibes, and I'm like, I kind of saw this movie a couple times already, so
Yeah, your instincts were right. This isn't a bad movie, and I think people who go see it will probably enjoy it, but I would have enjoyed it more had it not just been Nobody 3. Uh,
Mm.
Our final new movie is one you did see. It's called Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Lee Cronin was the director of the last Evil Dead movie, which was quite successful, and the studio was very happy with him. And I thought this was I thought the name thing was maybe like a nod to trying to keep it separate from the Brendan Fraser movies or a copyright thing. No, they just really like this guy. They said, why don't we put your name in front of it? And he's like, okay. He wasn't really excited about having his name in front of it, but that's what they offered him, and so he took it. And good for him. Jack Reynor is the star here from Midsommar. He played the guy sewed up in the bear suit, lit on fire, that still haunts my dreams.
Mhm.
I like him. I like Reynor. I think he's
I do
cool.
too.
I think he's an actor who I find just consistently surprising when I see him. He's a he has this quality. It's not quite an everyman quality, but like he's spineless.
Yeah.
which opens up a lot of opportunities for him to pretend that he's like the really the heroic character, and then also provides plenty of room for him to grow into being an actual heroic character, which I think is a good quality. Um, Here he's playing a reporter in Egypt. He's just landed his big job in New York. He's going to go behind a desk and be a big deal. But before he and his family can leave Egypt, their daughter is kidnapped, and she disappears for, was it 7 years?
Eight.
8 years.
8 years, yeah.
And so they had, they end up having to give up on New York so they can search for her, and then they don't find her, and then they end up going back to live with his mother-in-law in New Mexico. He takes a job at a small Mexico TV station, and everybody's kind of miserable for the most part, but they're together. But they've lost, their youngest, their oldest child, and they got a new daughter that was born after the disappearance of their other daughter, and of course a son who's all in the middle of that. And then they get the call: she's been found. She was been found in the most fucked up way possible inside of an Egyptian sarcophagus, seemingly not having seen light in the past 8 years. And she's a complete mess, as anyone would be out of that scenario. Um, and yeah, she's turns out to be cursed, and we're going from there. This is a gross movie. It's very gross. It's got a lot of squick. It's got a lot of gush. It's got all the things that typically make me very, very uncomfortable watching a movie, and somehow that kind of worked for me. I was kind of impressed by the sound design enough, and by
Mhm.
Jack Rayner enough for me to go, I don't mind this. I don't mind
Yeah.
this story. I kind of enjoyed this. And I kind of recommend it if you have a strong stomach, because I thought a couple times I might let loose. There were a couple moments. There's one where he like lifts up the carpet to see what's underneath it, and something is rotting. Like her vomit is like rotting the wood away, and I'm like, oh. And then the little girl pulling her teeth out, like, oh my god. But then it gets worse because she puts her dead grandmother's dentures in her mouth, and I'm like, oh my god, that's the worst thing I've ever seen.
Oh. So,
Yeah, that
okay.
was
Yeah. Um, so the Lee Cronin directed the last Evil Dead movie, and this has such an Evil Dead vibe to it. It's
mhm.
like the Evil Dead Mummy. Um, that I I kept thinking that throughout because it's a possession movie more so than it is a mummy movie.
Yeah.
Um, Jack Rayner is don't tell me if it's any different than what I think, but I feel like he's a less religious quackery, more interesting Chris Pratt. Um,
I don't really know much about him personally, so
yeah, so I don't want to hear if he's a religious nutbag like Chris Pratt is. Um, I I really enjoyed him in this role. I thought that he was just so he had the same look like he did in Midsommar, and that I really liked him in because he just couldn't believe what the fuck he was seeing.
mm.
Um, and I thought that really worked for the character. Um, and Leia Costa the whole time, just in disbelief and tears, and he was just in just like disbelief the whole time. I thought that really worked for what what they were going through. I did not like want to retch or anything, but I have a pretty strong stomach when it comes to fake blood and gore. Um,
What about toenails?
oh, God, I knew as soon as I saw those toenails, I'm like, she's gonna rip the whole like leg off or something.
Oh god.
Surprise! Um, yeah, I enjoyed this. With the caveat that it was so much um like an Evil Dead kind of mummy, not a Boris Karloff kind of mummy. Um,
Yeah, there's not
it
much not much visual like evolution from the Evil Dead franchise.
yeah. The makeup is very Evil Dead. The possession by a demon is very, very much like an Exorcist movie. From her look to, and then when you see the reason she looks that way, it's like horrifying. It's not just that she was underground. It's, when they start peeling her skin away and you find out that it's like the skin from the person that, ugh, God, threw up in her mouth and shit. I loved the twist at the very end.
Yeah.
Um, because I was like, oh, I wanted to see him, kind of like have to raise this girl after she's normal. I want him to have that, and well, he will apparently. Um, this is a movie that, again, if you have a very strong stomach, or if you're very used to stuff like this, it's great. It's not well, great is like it is pretty standard for horror, but with a lot of extra gore.
Hmm.
Um, but it's the visuals in it are very, very, very striking.
Yes.
Her look, Katie's look is pretty horrifying. Um, Natalie Grace, who plays her, it has kind of a I don't mean this in a bad way, but she has like kind of an odd face, kind of like um Anya Taylor Joy, in that it's a little wide and everything is spaced a little more differently than most people. And that gives her possessed Katie such a cool, interesting look that I don't
Yeah,
think.
it's consistently uncanny.
Yeah, like is this makeup? Is this her face? Is this CGI? It's like when she's quote unquote healed at the end, you see, oh, she just has an oddly shaped but not ugly face. But it works really, really well for the makeup and the possession scenes. So yeah,
I think I think Lee Cronin's quite a good director. I think he's got good instincts. I will now ask him to please do something, you know, more do something else.
yeah.
If I'm not saying not do horror again, but find something that's a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
Maybe like I don't know, a romantic comedy horror film or something. I don't know.
Midsommar
Do
too.
something like much like Bob Odenkirk. Just do something else now. You've shown us
Yeah.
what you can do with the grossest things imaginable. Now let's find a way to do something else.
Yeah, like a ghost story would be really interesting by him, I think. Um, something kind of haunting, like The Haunting of Hill House, something in that vein, but not. Um, there's a book called Tender is the Flesh,
Mhm.
and it's about how all the animals on Earth have gotten sick and died. So people have resorted to, instead of just becoming vegetarians, they have resorted to raising humans to eat. And I would like to see something like that with him.
Hmm.
Something a little more esoteric, a little more um, cerebral. Because this had its moments, but this was very, very much a an Evil Dead kind of in the vein of. Um,
Yeah, a derivation essentially.
yeah,
It's good that he's
uh,
not directing the next Evil Dead because that would just feel like a step backward.
right, right. Like maybe a Predator movie, because there's going to be more of those. That would be interesting to see him do. Um, although they'd all be zombies.
Hey, give me another Predator movie after that last one. That one rocked.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Well, they're going to. We all know that where there's a till, there's a way. Um, no, I think this was interesting. A little long. I think um, they could have cut out a couple characters here and there, and it would have been just as effective. But he did a lot of these little asides. The two ladies at the funeral who were talking about her lipstick and shit. I laughed
Mhm.
really. I laughed out loud at that because I thought that was a nice touch. Um,
Yeah.
oh, her lipstick. That's not a good color for her. You know. Um, and then the fact that they never showed the body in a casket, I was like, oh, we're gonna see her. Something's gonna happen.
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Terrible. Terrible stuff.
very much.
Um, yeah, and watch out for the bug eating, especially the scorpion. That's going to be real difficult for people. I think that was a tough one for me. So obviously, I think it's going to be tough for anybody. Um, yeah, dude, be aware. There is not one but two scorpion scenes that are both just
Yeah.
gross. All right, let's move on to an all-time classic, like one of the best movies ever, in my opinion. We did this one about 10 years ago on the show, and we wanted to bring it back because the Mummy is back. We're talking about the Mummy 1932 with the brilliant Boris Karloff, one of the most underrated actors in film history. Of course, Frankenstein, and then this. He plays Imhotep, the legendary uh, Egyptian, and he's just incredible. He's hypnotic. He's charismatic. You cannot take your eyes off this man when he's on screen. He is so fascinating to look at and to listen to. And you've got this wonderful story about the ways in which man has plundered graves, and just how little any of us ever gave a thought to the amount of trash that we just pulled out of other people's countries. Like you're just plundering their legendary history and going, isn't this cool? Well, yeah, it's cool, but those were dead people. Maybe you should just leave them alone.
Yeah.
No, they're dead foreign people. It's okay. Fuck. He actually brings that up. Ardeth Bay is the character, and Imhotep in disguise. And I just once he's there as Ardeth, and he's kind of manipulating and seducing everyone around him with his wit and intelligence. He's just mesmerizing. I cannot say enough brilliant things about him. I loved this when we watched it 10 years ago. I just fell in love with it. I like this more than I like either Dracula or Frankenstein. It's right there next to Bride of Frankenstein as being like the best of the Universal monster movies to me.
Huh. I wouldn't go that far, but I do love this movie. I just the visuals in this movie are like top of the universal notch. Um, this feels more like a 1930s movie than the previous two in the Universal monsters. Um, the Dracula definitely felt like a stage play because it was. Frankenstein actually felt more like a horror movie. This feels very, very much like a 1930s drama, um, with some horror elements to it. And I feel that that is based on some of the line readings. Zeta Johann, um, she's chewing scenery and she's giving you that mid Atlantic um, that that voice, and it's a little jarring when she's talking to Boris Karloff, who is super slow and super articulate and giving the performance that this needed. And she's meanwhile she's over here saying I was an Egyptian princess, I guess, you know, and it like, but it works. It's not, not in a bad way, but it really works for the two, and how she's a modern girl who suddenly realizes that she's, a great, however many times, 3,700 years, um, descendant of this queen, and how she's always kind of felt that way. And then she starts to, feel this queen inside her, and how that affects her and her relationships and everything is really, really interesting. It's one of the things about the Universal monsters that we don't really talk about as much
Hmm.
because it's not the Boris Karloff or Bela Lugosi or even Elsa Lanchester performance that these other monsters have. Um, the visuals when he's telling his story through
Hmm.
nothing but visuals without saying, "Oh, this is what happened, and this is what happened, and this is what happened." You have to really watch it to get it. And the scene where he's being buried alive and wrapped up
Mm,
in the that is terrifying because
so incredible.
you see his eyes and how terrified he is for what's happening to him, based on custom. So
Hmm.
yeah, it just
Amazing. Chris, Zeta Johann, she had some trouble on the set. She and Karl Freund didn't get along, and that was feeding into her performance. Some of the stuff that she did actually got cut from the movie because of the bad vibes between the two of them. It's like some stuff from her past live flashback scenes that got cut, which is unfortunate, but it doesn't seem to have hurt the movie. And for a movie that's this short, it doesn't feel like it's rushing, which is again just
no.
another sign of how incredibly brilliant this movie is.
Yeah. Yeah, this is only like an hour and 13 minutes. This is super,
Hmm.
super short. Um, but it feels like a complete movie. It's not, it's, and I know I really watched it knowing how long it was this time. And, some of the insert shots, um, if you took those out, this movie would probably be about an hour five. And I feel like, they even extended it a little bit so that we, they could flesh it out a little bit. It could be in the theaters. Um, but I don't think it suffers for anything. I think it's like a perfect it's a perfect example of a 1930s horror movie and the universal monsters. Um,
And it's really just for me as a testament to Karloff being just the most underappreciated genius of his day.
mhm,
And when you look back on, Jack P. Pierce as well, who did the makeup for this, and he did the makeup for many of the monsters. He was an incredible talent, and the 8 hours a day is what he
mhm,
went through to play this character, which is just stunning when you think about it. Like back then, as opposed to now, I mean, it's miserable now to have to do stuff like that, as you can hear from like guys like Jim Carrey. But like, I can only imagine how miserable it must have been back then in 1932.
yeah,
Um, and and for him to have endured that and to still give this performance that is just that transcends the makeup and just becomes just so incredibly engaging. It just is again another testament. If he'd just been given a chance to be something other than a monster in a movie, he would have
mhm,
crushed it. He would have absolutely crushed it. And it is just one of the saddest things ever that people just, oh nope, that's he's Frankenstein and the Mummy. That's it. That's all you can do.
mhm, yeah.
Assholes.
Yeah, I did love the kind of capriciousness that they are taking this shit out of the ground
Yeah.
in people's graves, basically. And the one guy was like, "Well, I'm pissed that we can't steal any of this shit." And he was like, "Well, that was part of our deal, so we got to keep it all in Egypt. Sorry."
Hmm.
Yeah, this
Gross. It's
there.
just it's so gross. It's
Yeah.
so gross. Movie was inspired by the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb, which was
Mhm.
just huge. I think it was 1922, and it just took the entire Egyptian craze around the world. And people our ability to just look at something and not think it's a big deal is fascinating sometimes.
Yeah.
We're working on something for movies of the '80s for basically the idea is that you think we're jaded and cynical now, like and just out for money. In 1988, there was a Platoon video game. They made a video game of fucking Platoon. What the fuck? So basically, we've always been garbage.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, humans are the worst thing to ever happen to the earth.
Our ability to just turn anything into entertainment is both it's fascinating and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah, everything is entertainment. Everything. And if we're
I
not
keep
being
having to tell
entertained,
that.
we're not
Go
being
ahead.
entertained, we're being advertised to about entertainment. So
I always keep telling that 9/11 story about the Flight 187 movie and just that surreal sight of people buying popcorn and soda to go watch the
mhm.
most accurate recreation of the greatest tragedy of my lifetime. That's fucking weird, man. It's fucking weird, but that's what was happening. Sold out crowds jumping popcorn, watching the guy who was actually in charge of our airspace on the East Coast that day, Ben Sliney, reenacting 9/11 in the most accurate fashion possible. Entertainment.
Are you not entertained, sir?
You're so fucking weird. So fucking weird. Speaking of weird, Michael Jackson next week. Michael is the documentary, or not the documentary, it's the biopic, what I meant to say. It's certainly not a documentary from what I've been hearing. Um,
Is Corey Feldman playing
that's
Michael
the.
Jackson? Only in real life.
Oh, man. That's a disturbing little rabbit hole right there.
Yeah.
I imagine. Um, what is your take on Michael? Do you think he was as bad as many people say he was?
Um, like I believe survivors, but I also I I I don't based on like the fact that oh he's bleaching his skin. No, he has vitiligo, and that is like recently people with vitiligo have been coming out and saying no, this is what I look like, and I think that Joe Jackson was one of the worst stage parents of all time, and he fucked with every single one of his children to the point where none of them could just look human. They all had to look the same and, like completely carve up their faces so that they did not look like who they originally looked like.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that is just a symptom of how badly they were fucked up by their father, who was just a terrible, terrible person from every account. So if he did like molest children or whatever that people say he did, um, yeah, I don't condone it. I don't there's no doubt that the man had incredible talent. Um, there's no doubt that he was completely fucked up, and I can't say one way or the other. I can't say that he did what people said. Some people said he did, and then other people said he didn't. Um, I don't know. I think the man was a musical genius and so creative, and just never had the chance to be a human.
Hmm.
So
That's the thing I keep coming back to is that he was never really a child. He was a child star and he was constantly working as a kid and never really had friends his age. And he kind of remained in this sort of perpetual childhood at Joe's sort of insistence. And that to me that's probably just me just grasping at straws, wanting to try and still be a Michael Jackson fan because I just want to believe that maybe he just wanted to have a childhood. And when he had, millions upon millions of dollars, he decided, hey, I'm going to be a child now and I'm going to
yeah,
have child friends, which is, it's weird. It's weird, but it's kind of understandable when you think about the way he grew up and how we all watched it happen. Like we all know, we all watched him grow up. But at the
yeah,
same time, then you do flash back to the late 70s and early 80s, and you do see him being an adult. You do see him not being the childlike Michael he grows up to be because he's out on dates, he's meeting women. He went to Studio 54. Like he wasn't as naive as he lets on. And that
yeah.
to me also feels weird. I can't balance those things. I can't seem to balance how those work in my mind to make me not believe that there was something else going on. And it's, part of that is a cultural bias when you hear about just any man who wants to spend that much time around children that aren't his.
Yeah.
It gets really weird at that point. But I don't know. Macaulay Culkin has never said a bad thing about him, as far as I know, and I would think at some point he would have just said it. And he doesn't seem
Yeah.
like he's completely fucked up either. Him and his brother were both in Michael Jackson's orbit, but then so was Corey Feldman, and he's completely fucked up. But he was also fucked up by several other people before he ever met Michael Jackson.
And I don't think that he's even ever come out against Michael Jackson. I think he said
No.
that, like he's talked about people like Dominic Brasha, who is
Hmm.
allegedly the one who raped Corey Feldman or Corey Haim. He was in Friday the 13th Part 5. Uh, but I don't recall if he's ever said anything about Michael Jackson.
He may have, but
So
I'm not familiar with it. But you'd figure a guy who has been so open about, talking about who it is that's been, who messed with him and Corey Haim, you'd think that if he had that traumatic experience with Michael Jackson, maybe he would have said something, which is again more of
yeah,
my probable coping. But I
I
I
know.
I listen to Macaulay Culkin's podcast occasionally, and I see him on YouTube on other people's videos, and he just seems so normal. And you'd think a kid who went through something so traumatic as a sexual
Yeah,
abuse from a massive worldwide superstar, you'd think he'd have some very obvious signs of trauma, and he just doesn't seem to have that.
yeah. Corey Feldman said that he was never molested by Michael Jackson, but he believes his accusers, and he can no longer support him and defend him because he watched the documentary Leaving Neverland. So
Yeah, I get it.
he feels like he may have been groomed, but not abused. So
It's also a thing where, like, maybe don't molest the most high profile people you're
well,
working.
you would hope.
I that would take a great deal more calculation than, say, like a Harvey Weinstein had, who obviously had no calculation whatsoever. He's just doing everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I again, I don't like the first superstar that I was obsessed with that wasn't Darth Vader was Michael Jackson.
Mm.
Um, I loved the Thriller album, every single song on it. I had Michael Jackson folders and everything in school. He was literally the biggest star in the universe for a very long time. Um, and I feel like between him and Madonna and Prince, those are kind of the triumvirate of 80s stars
Mhm.
for me. And I mean, Madonna's the only one left, but she's also famously against doing drugs. So, um, the other two,
Oh,
we're
unless
not.
it's Botox, she'll do.
Well, well, yeah, recreational
uh,
Botox, but um,
recreational.
but I feel like it's hard for me to parse the Michael Jackson who basically destroyed himself
Mhm.
with the Michael Jackson who was destroyed by his father, and where those where that Venn diagram starts and ends. Um, is this a circle? Is it a sliver? Not really sure. So I'm interested to see this. Um, I don't think it will necessarily shed any new light on the way we feel about Michael
It,
Jackson.
Yeah, it's not going to. It's going to be a standard biopic. It's got his family like all over it. Like literally his nephew is playing him, and all of his brothers and his mom were involved in it, and
Oh, okay.
like
Well,
Janet Janet wasn't involved, which is weird because now they don't have Janet in the movie. And Diana Ross, who discovered Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5, not in the movie. She wouldn't
Oh,
cooperate. So so yeah, they
hmm.
couldn't that's kind of two big pieces that they don't have in this supposedly true story.
Wow.
But I hopefully there's something there. I guess maybe we might get some new insight into the accident where he got burned on the Pepsi commercial. I guess that's in the movie, but like I said, the only thing I've heard is that it's a really, really standard biopic, and oh, I am done with those. I am
Uh,
so done with the standard music biopic. I swear to God, if they have him look at like uh sequins and then a glove next to it and back to his face, I will fucking leave. I will get up and walk out of that fucking movie if that happens. Oh, look, a bag of sequins, a glove. Hmm.
I'm under the understanding that the reason he wore the glove is because his vitiligo had hit that hand. So,
I'm just talking about the tropes
yeah.
of the stupid
Oh yeah,
biopic.
I know.
Or like the Legacy sequel where we gotta explain why Indiana Jones wears that hat. No, you don't. No,
Yeah.
he likes the fucking hat. You don't need to tell Han Solo's name. Didn't need a backstory. Didn't need it.
Hmm.
He's Han Solo. That's his name. Leave it alone.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Well, that's next week, along with over Your Dead Body with Jason Segel and Margot Robbie, which is again not being advertised at all to anyone. So great job there, guys. Way to go. And and there's one more. What was it?
Mother Mary.
Mother Mary, which has been sitting on the shelf for 2 years.
Yeah, allegedly. Um, but it's got Anne Hathaway and Michaela Cole in it, so I'm looking forward to that because I like both of them. Um,
We
and
shall see.
I think if I'm just kind of remembering that, like, okay, Mother Mary is the name of an actual pop star that's not very well known, and I think she's sued because of this because she play Anne Hathaway plays a pop star, so there I think that might have had something to do with it, but I'm not 100% sure. So
Okay. Well, I got to get going before I pass out. So, Jeff, thank you.
have a great night.
Have a good one.
Oh, and our classic is Happy Birthday to Me because we're recording on my birthday, so go watch that.